Hi, I represent Mothers for Safe City. My name is Shirley Chambers. My son Tyler Cooper Nichols was taken from me December 23rd, 2021, and I turned my pain into purpose and hoping to help other mothers get through this sucking club because no one chooses to join this club. We're chosen.
All right, thank you so much for being here today. I'm Shafali Welch.
And I'm Mary Amsterdam.
And we are volunteers with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Thank you all for being here. This year, we again unite in our call to end gun violence in all its forms. We welcome survivors, our allies in advocacy and gun violence prevention, students, teachers, elected officials, volunteers, parents, and everyone here today. And we are so grateful for the work you do, and we are so proud to stand beside you. So in the past, we've held this event to raise awareness for gun violence. So just show of hands, who's aware that there's a gun violence problem in our country? Yeah, that's what I thought. We don't need to raise awareness anymore. What we need is action. So this year's theme is to take action. And today, you are going to hear from people who are doing just that. And throughout our program, we are going to highlight actions we can take today.
Your action today and in the future, we honor survivors and we draw attention to the intersectionality of gun violence and so many other issues we are facing right now as a country. Today marks the beginning of both Gun Violence Awareness Month and Gay Pride Month. And we welcome our brothers and sisters in advocacy from Gays Against Guns. And who are here with us today are going to help us with the march, and also all members and allies of the LGBTQIA community. We recognize the disproportionate toll that gun violence takes on the queer community, on the black and brown communities, and other marginalized communities in our country. And we say, enough!
Enough!
It's time to disarm hate. So today we will hear from many speakers who are dedicated to ending gun violence. As Shafali said, we will hear from teachers and students who sadly have heightened levels of concern for their own safety at school, a place that is supposed to be welcoming and safe for all. We will hear from a congressman, my congressman in fact, who has been a terrific ally for us in this movement. And of course, we will hear from survivors, those who have suffered the most from the proliferation of gun violence, and who we honor by our presence here today.
So first, we'd like to take a moment of silence to honor those lives and to renew our commitment to ending gun violence. Thank you. So Moms Demand Action has been fighting for gun violence prevention for over 10 years. This movement is a marathon, and while progress may seem slow, we have made strides. 26 states now have safe storage laws in place. 14 states now have laws against ghost guns. And 21 states have red flag laws in place. And less than 2 years ago, President Biden signed into law the Safer Communities Act, which, among other things, strengthened background checks and closed the boyfriend loophole. And these accomplishments are because of people like you, because of all of us in this movement demanding change. But, there's always a but, there is more work to do. Just 2 weeks ago, the NRA held its annual convention in Texas. Texas is a state with some of the worst gun laws and among the highest rates of gun violence in this country. And I don't want to be Texas. We are not going to stand for the guns everywhere agenda promoted by the NRA. And we are not going to stand idly by while people try and roll back that progress that we have made. Every year we lose over 43,000 loved ones to gun violence, over 1,000 or nearly 1,000 in New York City. So there is so much more work we still have to do.
So as you heard already, today is going to be about action. And I know that we're all ready. So we're going to start. Everyone take out their phones. Get ready. As Shefali just said, there are some major gaps in our background check system in this country that have been addressed by the Safer Communities Act. And now the ATF has passed its final rule, which will require that people who sell guns must register as a licensed gun dealer and run background checks. Finally, this will save lives. But, because there's always a but, there are legislatures that don't want this to happen, who oppose this. They think it's okay for domestic abusers to get guns. They think it's okay for there to be assault weapons on our street and for felons to get guns, like one notable felon we all know. And we are here to say, hell no! So what I want you to do is to right now text the word DEFEND to 64433. DEFEND to 64433. So this is going to bring you to a link that when you fill out your name, it's going to send it to your legislators and to let them know that you support the ATF rule and background checks for every gun sale in this country. So when you've done it, raise your hand. I want to see people who've done it. It feels good to do something, right? Okay.
All right, now that we've taken our first action, let's get our program started. So we are honored once again to have some powerful speakers with us here today and the fantastic performers from A Song for Life. So our first speaker is Sarah Beth Rosenberg. Sarah is the founder of Teachers Unify, the co-founder of Teachers Unify to End Gun Violence. And she has been teaching U.S. history at a New York City school for 22 years. That alone deserves a medal. Having a high schooler myself, you deserve a medal. Sarah Beth is also a writer, a content creator, and she has been the co-host of the PBS NewsHour Educator Voice series for over 3 years. Welcome, Sarah.
And thank you to all the activists and survivors and just supporters of this movement who have come out today on this beautiful but very kind of hot day. I love the heat, but thank you so much for coming out here. So as you already heard, I'm the co-founder of Teachers Unify to End Gun Violence. Yay, teachers, school staff, teachers, everyone, and all of you. So I'm here on behalf of Teachers Unify to End Gun Violence. And as you heard, I've been teaching, about to have been teaching for 22 years at the same high school here in New York City, public high school for environmental studies. So shout out to some parents here from that school and maybe some students. So basically, my teaching, so when I first started teaching, it had only been about a couple years since Columbine. And my first day of student teaching was supposed to be on September 11th, 2001. So even though, of course, my primary job, much to the disbelief of some politicians out there, is to educate my students about U.S. history and American history in the world. But it's not in the job description, but from day one, I've had to be there to help my students process violence and the chaos that this world has provided us. And unfortunately, it doesn't have to be that way. And I think about that every single time that I'm there with my students processing yet another shooting, whether it's in their community or at a school. And as you all know, it's inevitable that these conversations are going to come up because gun violence is the leading cause of death for children, for young kids today in America. Just process it. We say that statistic all the time, but let's just process that again and not get numb to that. And so, yes, I know some people might think it's political to let my students process the gun violence that they have to experience in this country, but I do not think it's political. I want all of us, regardless of who you vote for, how you identify politically, to stop processing this as a political issue. This is a public health issue. It is a public health issue. And I'm sick of people politicizing it. Because this affects every single one of us, whether we want it to or not. It doesn't matter if you vote blue, red, or something else, right? And so that's why I just want to state that before I continue this speech. I'm not being political, letting my students process the violence around them. So basically, when I first met Abby Clements and Sarah Lerner, my two co-founders of Teachers Unified and Gun Violence, I'm sure many of you know them or have heard of them, I didn't meet them personally at first. I met them through my students. I have been inextricably linked to Abby and Sarah and their students as a result of gun violence. When the Sandy Hook, the horrible, horrific Sandy Hook shooting happened, my students insisted that we send snowflakes to Abby's surviving students and community. And after Parkland, my students insisted, even though some people were saying it wasn't a good idea, it wasn't safe in New York City to go on a march, they insisted. I saw them become activists that day. They insisted that they go for a march. It was just around the block because we're in the middle of New York City. They insisted to go out there to show their support for Sarah Lerner's surviving students of Parkland and the gun violence prevention movement in general. So I luckily got to meet them, that's another story, and we were in a group chat. And I'm sure a lot of you were in similar group chats. And after Oxford, the shooting, yet another school shooting, this time right outside of Detroit, Abby and Sarah and I were texting each other. We were saying, I don't even have to tell you what we were saying. You know what we were saying. Another one. I can't believe this. When is this going to stop? And also, I want to say something before I continue. It's the school shootings are the things that get the headlines. That is not where the gun violence is happening primarily. It just gets the headlines. And I really think that's important to keep in mind. And so I want to emphasize that to you. So when Abby said to us, you know what? Do you want to start a national organization for teachers, by teachers, to end this problem once and for all? Our number one thing that we said was we need to center school shootings because that gets the headlines, but we need to make sure that we emphasize from day one that this is really about the communities that all of our students are a part of. And it's about this country, right? But I think we just need to finally hear from teachers. And so I'm not speaking in hyperbole. This group chat was like, right after the shooting. And within a couple hours, we had our name, we had all our social media, we had our website, because I'm not going to curse, but you know what I want to say? Teachers know how to get stuff done. If my students are watching, I don't curse, so I don't want to curse, right? So we got it done. And we had our handle, we had it going. And now we are so proud that we have teachers and school staff members and retired teachers. And when I say teachers, anyone who works in a school is a teacher. Let's remember that. Anyone who works in a school, has worked in a school, is a teacher. And we now have members from all over the country. And we are a grassroots movement, and our goal is to empower teachers and school staff to demand that our communities are safe from gun violence. And we now have about 15,000 people a part of this movement. And we're so proud of what we've accomplished, but we have so much more to accomplish. And I want to end with what we do, which is we've been amplifying teacher and school staff voices from day one. And so I think I want to read some. I have too many to read. I only have like 5 minutes. I might have already overstayed my welcome. But I want to read from you what some of our teachers across this country are saying. One teacher who joined the efforts of Teachers Unified to End Gun Violence said, "Willing to be a human shield is not in our job description or required for teacher certification. Perhaps it should be." She's being sarcastic, of course. Another teacher said, "There are many logical ways to prevent school shootings They've been obvious since Columbine. Yet those in power refuse to act. It's unconscionable. There are some who do, but we need more of them in office, right? Another teacher said, "This is not freedom. We are imprisoned in locked schools and classrooms. This is not okay. I don't understand why we aren't doing more to protect students, but each and one, all of you are, and I thank you for that." Two more. And this one resonated with me. One teacher from New York said, "I do not want," this is not me though, another teacher from New York said, "I do not want my students to be killed by gun violence in their school. I look out my second floor classroom and wonder if my students and I would die if we had to jump. I've had that conversation too many times with my students, and that is not okay." And I'll end with the final one. School is supposed to be a safe place, and I want to put a little asterisk next to that. This country is supposed to be a safe place, and it can be if we stop politicizing this and agree that this is a public health crisis. So I thank you all today for being here and for letting me speak. So thank you very much, and thank you again, Moms and Dads.
Okay, our next speaker is Natasha Christopher. Natasha is a survivor, and she is the founder of the Akil Christopher Foundation. Originally from Trinity and Tobago, she turned her personal tragedy into powerful activism when her son Akil was tragically killed by gun violence at the age of 15. She founded her own nonprofit, the Akil Christopher Community Center Corporation, to combat gun violence, and she has joined groups like Everytown and Moms Demand Action. She also works with the 67th Precinct Clergy Council and serves as family support specialist for Mothers for Safe Cities, offering direct aid to affected families. And she holds multiple roles on councils and boards that are all do the work of preventing gun violence. Her story and Natasha herself exemplify the transformative impact of turning adversity into action. Please welcome Natasha Christopher and her people.
Good afternoon, everyone. I need all survivors on stage. This is not a I thing, this is a we thing. All survivors on stage. Marie. All survivors, I'm seeing people standing with shirts. Once you're representing somebody on stage, please. I don't care. This is a we thing. This is not an I thing. Amen. We gonna fit in here somehow, but we gonna do this together. Again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natasha Christopher. I am the founder of the Akil Christopher Community Center, Inc. I am proud to return to Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I used to volunteer and do outreach work back then with them, but then I wanted to do community work. So I went back into the community and started doing survival outreach work with the 67th Precinct Clergy, also known as God Squad. And I want people to know this is what trauma looks like. These are all survivors standing on this stage. We have not lost our children. Our children was murdered. My sons, their loved ones are not coming back. They were murdered. So I want people to stop saying lost. My son was murdered and he's never coming back. But I took pain and anger and I gave it purpose. I took pain and anger and I turned it into purpose, right? I tell people, I was a member of Moms when Shannon Watts was just started off with Marie Duluth when Marie found me. So we are grassroots. We are the reason why you guys are standing today. We were out there doing the hard work that you guys are able to walk now. I say this, back in 2001, I think probably like around 2014, my son was the first junior ambassador to the Man Action for Gun Sense in America, when kids wasn't even speaking up. Christopher Underwood. He was speaking up against gun violence back then at the age of 6 years old. I stand here with families who have just joined one of the shittiest clubs in the world. I stand here with my sister, Amanda Montrose, who buried her son not less than 3 months ago. And she should have not have to join this club. I'm standing here with another mother, LaShawn Brown. She should have never had to bury her son. He was just killed in Soho after leaving school. We have to do better. We must do better. We must end gun violence. And as we get ready to go across that bridge, they must hear our voices. And again, this is not about black, brown, or white. This is about all of us. All our children are supposed to make it home safe, and they're not. And I'm sick and tired of our communities burying our young black people. Again, my son would have been turning 27 on July 10th, and he will never get to see his birthday. New York City has one of the strictest gun laws, but we can't seem to get rid of gun violence in our community.
Yes. Talk about it.
I tell people all the time, the same type of energy you get when the police kill one of us, get mad when we are killing each other. So I stand here on this stage today. There are some survivors on this stage who have unsolved cases. And we need the mayor to do his job. We need the district attorney to do his job.
Yes.
These families deserve answers.
Yes.
I am standing here today as Akil Christopher's mother.
Yes.
And I deserve answers.
Yes.
My son's case is still unsolved.
That's right.
So as we get ready to go across that stage, you will hear my voice say, not one more.
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 Guns down.
Rise up.
Guns down.
Rise up.
Guns down.
Rise up.
Guns down.
Rise up.
Thank you.
Natasha, thank you so much for sharing your story and for turning your pain into purpose. Let's do another round of applause for Natasha and all the survivors. A Song for Life was founded in 2019 by Hope Daly Berry after a loved one was shot and paralyzed and could no longer perform. A Song for Life serves as a platform for artists to advocate for the causes they believe in and encourages artists to combine their artistry with advocacy. It is an honor to have them here with us today, and I am so pleased to introduce the founder of A Song for Life, Hope Daly Berry.
Wow. That was really moving just now. I'm still shaking. Of course, our hearts go out to everyone that has been impacted by gun violence. I started A Song for Life after one of the musical artists in our community of singers was randomly shot and which resulted in him being paralyzed. We gathered our community of singers and we came up with the idea of creating songs for life. We know the power that music has, especially on our youth, and we are using our voices to bring songs that will help to uplift and encourage our youth, not to do anything else. We want to encourage and feed the souls of our youth. On June 15th, we have an event at the Billie Holiday Theater in Brooklyn, New York, from 6 to 9 p.m. We would love it if everyone would come out. We're celebrating our first music EP. Thank you. It is a compilation of amazing emerging female artists, 2 of which will perform today. And at the Arts and Crafts table, there's a QR code there, and I believe over at the sign-up table on what you can do action-wise, there's another QR code there so you can get more information. But I don't want to delay any longer. I want to bring up our first artist. She's also featured on this compilation project called Let Her Rock, a love letter. This is a love letter to our youth. We believe empowered women mean empowered males, because we are the ones, women, that are leading our communities. And so, without further ado, I want to bring up Perry Jones. She is going to sing Ugly, and you have to tell them what it's doing.
How's everybody feeling? How's everybody feeling? I want to say, first and foremost, thank you for Mom Saman for having me in a Song for Life, for inviting me to this event. I'm big on self-affirmational records because I think that violence starts within. It starts, usually the person that's standing behind the situation doesn't love themselves. And I think that it's really important and imperative that we teach self-love from a young age, so that way we can have purpose and we can move intentionally. So this first song I'm going to be singing for you guys, it's an original record. It's called Ugly, and it stands for You Gotta Love Yourself. I hope you enjoy.
Love your parents.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When she don't feel pretty, she go do her makeup. And she get her nails done, they go by the lace front. Hate it when she take it, but you always stick around. So that if she get her butt done, it still won't hold her down like you. Never met nobody that could love her like you. Always kept it real, ain't nobody like you. Showed your love was real by the things that you do. You do, oh. You told her no matter what she do, that she be perfect. And if she don't know nothing else, you gotta learn to love yourself. She said, teach me how to love me, even when I'm ugly. You love her when she ugly. He just tryna live life, hit the gym and work hard. Might go buy that cool fit, then go buy that new car. Hate it when he fake it, but you always stick around. If he's supposed to, you still won't hold him down like you. Never met nobody that could love him like you. Always kept it real, ain't nobody like you. Showed your love was real, all the things that you do. You do, oh. You told him no matter what he do, he be perfect. And if he don't know nothing else, you gotta learn to love yourself. He said, teach me how to love me, even when I'm ugly. You love me when we Listen, you gotta learn to love yourself. If you don't know nothing else, what you gotta do? You gotta learn to love yourself. So won't you teach me how to love? Even when I'm ugly, ugly, you love me when I'm ugly, ugly. Won't you teach me how to love me? Even when I'm ugly, ugly, you love me when I'm thank y'all so much.
Hello, beautiful people. Let's do another round of applause for my girl Perry Jones. Wasn't that beautiful? Oh my gosh, I have a new friend. Her name is Mal. She's gonna help me out with this. My name is Sabia. It is an honor to be here with you all. Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. This is not a Song for Life's first time joining y'all, but it's a blessing all the same. So as my mom was saying, we put together this album this year, a compilation album full of women, independent women artists. And I had the honor of writing a poem to open the album up. This poem is called Little Sister, and it is, just like our album, a love letter to our youngins, and a kind of quick guidebook to life, I guess. So here it is. Little sister, all the silly seeds that plant giggles and grow into belly laughter matter. Do what you love. Be who you are. If you doubt it, but it calls you, do it anyway. Breathe deep and know sometimes nothing makes sense but your gut and the ground below. And after you've learned all you can feasibly learn, make a choice and let it go. Work as hard as you sustainably can. Prioritize time alone. There is power in standing alone. But foster community. You cannot do it all on your own, and that's okay. You're only human. You shouldn't have to. Always have escape money. Hold your people tight. Do them right. Be the kind of friend you wish to have. Stay curious and know your limits. Slow down. Breathe. You can never run out of time to breathe. Resist the urge to define yourself from the outside in. Live out every dream. There are no rules, and you deserve a beautiful life. Act at no one's expense. Love with no fear. When you have hurt someone, say sorry and mean it. Slow down. Luxuriate in self-care. Groom yourself with a divine touch. Kiss your own skin. Remind your body it is love. It is yours. It belongs. When you are moved, dance, cry, laugh, scream, twitch, wiggle, squeal. Let it out. Do not trap it in. Do not banish it to the basement of your temple, the attic of your home. There is no corner dark enough to mask the way memories can make dents on your insides, weigh like boulders on your shoulders, curve your spine upside. Let it go, little sister. Slow down. Breathe. Choose joy. Say yes. Say no. Don't be too afraid to say no. It is important to be comfortable saying no when it doesn't serve you, when it hurts, when it's too much to carry, when it don't sit right, when it ain't adding up, and also just because you are always entitled to say no. Say no. Say no. You deserve a beautiful life. That was Little Sister. Thank you.
My name is Patricia Block-Shin. I'm a 15-year-old high school student from Staten Island, and I've been working with Students Food Action for 2 years now. Firstly, I want to thank you all for coming out today. Seeing all of you here as a student is extremely inspirational. Seeing us here together reminds me of the power of the gun violence prevention movement and the fierce commitment that we all share for ending the gun violence epidemic in America. Okay, while I myself am not a gun violence survivor, high schools in New York City and across the country are being heavily impacted by gun violence. Sometimes it's easy to say, oh, that happened in a different state. It won't happen here. Until it does. And as a student, when a school gets put on lockdown in Staten Island, the couple of miles between that school and my school does not make me feel any safer. Until every school is safe from gun violence, no school is safe from gun violence. And as of May last year, there have been more mass shootings than days of school, and gun violence continues to be the leading cause of death for children and teens in America. It's not enough for legislators to turn their back on our survivors and tweet thoughts and prayers. Because for our activists and our survivors, thoughts and prayers coupled with inaction is not enough. Sometimes when I say I'm involved in gun violence prevention, I get oddballs. I feel like gun violence prevention has been turned into this tremendously polarizing issue by people like politicians and different media stations. And I never really understood why, and I still don't. The idea of preventing gun violence, or any violence in general, is a common safety concern that should matter to everyone. Solutions, however, will not get passed if we don't have difficult conversations. If we don't have discussions with people on the other side of the aisle, and they aren't willing to discuss with us, then there's not going to be progress. As a student, it's frustrating to see these discussions not happen, because a lack of discussion prevents progress and it keeps students unsafe. I urge legislators, politicians, and citizens alike to strip back the polarization, strip back the volatile words that the media has placed on gun violence prevention, and recognize each other as citizens with a common desire for safety, and remember the survivors and students alike who depend on their action. Today and every day, we need to hold survivors of gun violence at the hearts of these discussions and the gun violence prevention movement as a whole. This is why we honor them, and we wear orange. Survivors are the central flame of this movement. It is their advocacy that makes this movement successful. Survivors turn their pain into unstoppable power, and they inspire us to ensure that we work to make America safe. Our movement every day is making strides to pass new legislation and advocate for concrete change that will shape America. We lobby in Albany to pass legislation. We march for our survivors. We introduce new legislation like the Glock bill to make sure people cannot alter guns to be weapons of war in our own neighborhoods and communities. We demand to be heard. We demand to have conversations that lay the foundation for life-saving legislation. We demand to be recognized by all sides of the political aisle for our basic desire for safety. At the end of the day, at the core of this movement lies our survivors, a shared love, and a basic desire for safety. This core makes us tremendously dynamic, resilient, and powerful. Our goals transcend political parties, and together we will continue to make progress and advocate until every community, every school, and every home in America is free from the threat of gun violence. Another round for Patricia.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Reem Khalifa. I'm a junior at Stuyvesant High School, and I co-lead New York City Students Demand Action with Ariel. My generation has grown up in the face of our country's gun violence epidemic. Guns are the leading cause of death for our generation. That is why we must fight for a safer future. We're refusing to back down until all of our demands are met with change. I got involved with the movement to end gun violence because of the impact on my community. Black people are 10 times more likely to die of a gunshot wound than the person sitting next to them. In my experience, walking through TSA-style metal detectors every morning made me feel like a threat, not an 11-year-old looking for an education. So that is why we are standing here today to demand action. We're rising up in our schools and communities to demand gun safety legislation, hold the gun industry accountable, and shift our fuel into funding prevention programs at home. not weapons of war abroad. Being here is an amazing first step, but there is a role for everyone in this movement. Whether you're a gun violence survivor or not, advocacy starts at home, in your neighborhood, at your school, and within your communities. That is why I am urging everyone here to step up and demand action now. Our lives depend on it.
When I say guns down, you say life up. Guns down.
Life up!
Guns down.
Life up!
My name is Christian Matthew. Thank you. I serve as one of the youth ambassadors for Guns Down, Life Up, and also as the assistant director of the National Action Network Youth and College Division. And let me say, it is an honor to be here again. I come every year, and I made sure I told Shefali, I said, Shefali, I'm coming, because I almost didn't make it, but I'm glad that I came. And it's always good to see the amount of love and support that we get in this fight when it comes down to gun violence. Everybody that has come up and said that gun violence is the leading cause of death for young people in America. It has passed driving, it has passed hit and runs, it has passed everything that used to kill young people. Now it is gun violence. And it is at the hands of those that do not do what they are supposed to do to protect our young people. As I was standing up here, I saw a baby that was being held, and I said, the world is becoming more dangerous. And when we look at our children, we should look at the future. And every time that a child is killed, every time that a young person is killed, every time a mother has to bury a child, is another time that our future is being buried. Every time we have to come to things like this because of senseless acts of violence means that we are one step closer to an entire generation being obliterated, not because of things that we have done, but because those that are in leadership have not been held accountable. And so the reason why we are here today is to hold those people accountable. We are here to say that we are tired of gun violence. We are here to say that gun violence can no longer wreak havoc in our communities. And a part of something that Guns Down does, which is great, is they go after our young people. And when I say that, I mean that. They go after our young people with services and resources to help them when other people don't want to help them. Giving jobs, alternative to incarceration. They go, they have the children's book. Now they're going into schools and getting it into the mind, because it is the mind that really will protect the people. If you leave a gun right here on these stairs, if nobody touches the gun, that means it's safe. But if somebody picks up that gun and takes the life of the person, what do you end up saying? It is not the gun that is the problem, but it is the mindset behind the person holding the gun. And so not only do we want to hold people accountable, but we also want to help with the mindset of people. We are living in very dangerous times. There's so many things that people are dealing with. Anger is a real thing. And so we need services in our community that help us, and Guns Down, Life Up is one of them. And I have to say this for myself, I didn't tell anybody but those that know, but just 2 months ago, March 7th, I was leaving my school, and as we were leaving, an altercation between two young ladies happened. And in the midst of that altercation, my friend, a very good friend of mine, a dear friend who was more than a friend, he was a brother. And he went to go break up the fight. And his life was taken right down the street as we were leaving the school. 7 bullets went off. 5 of them hitting his body. As soon as I got the call, I left my office, I dropped everything, I called Mildred, I said, Mildred, I got to get to the hospital right now. Got to the hospital, he was good, everything was doing good. Moment later, Gilly pulls me to the side and says, Christian, I have to tell you, your friend didn't make it. My heart shattered because we were on the verge of prom. I'm a senior in high school. I'm now going at the end of this month to Utica University to pursue my bachelor's in political science. And he had an entire future ahead of him. And it is so sad that we see the issue of gun violence happening every day. But I don't want us to think that gun violence ends at mass shootings. Because a lot of times people only say, oh, mass shootings this and mass shootings that. Gun violence happens every day. there is something called sporadic gun violence. Gun violence where ghost guns are killed. I have another friend, and I saw her on one of the t-shirts, Angela Yambo. Me and her both went to elementary school together. And when I received the call, it was on April 7th of 2022. And they said that Angie had been killed by a gunshot that was 3 blocks away. The shooter had shot with a bullet, with a gun, that the bullet hit her 3 blocks away. And I'm not talking about no regular little 1, 2, 3. I'm talking about long New York City streets. So what I want to say to you, and I'm closing with this, gun violence is not going to end until we do what we have to do to end gun violence. We need to go after our young people with resources. We need funding to come back. We're so grateful for all of the things that the president and everything that they're doing, but that is not enough. And so we need our leaders to stand up, and that is why it takes people like Guns Down, Life Up. It takes Moms Demand. It takes Students Demand. It takes Gays Against Guns. It takes all Teachers Unify Against Gun Violence. I know I saw Abby here somewhere. It takes all of these great organizations, NAN and so many other organizations to get rid of gun violence. So when I say guns down, you say life up. Guns down. Life up. Guns down. Life up. When I say no justice, you say no peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Thank you. All right.
I'm so touched by all the beautiful speeches we've heard today, the devastating words we've heard today. The next song I'm about to sing is a song I wrote called A Seat on the Train. I wrote it at a time when I was crying on the train a lot. Can I see a show of hands who's cried on the train before? Yep. If you didn't raise your hand, I don't believe you. Yeah, I was crying a lot on the train because there was a lot to cry about, and since then it seems like there has been only more to add. I wrote this with my own generation in mind, millennials, but I think our friends who just spoke had a really, important things to say, because that generation is up against even more than it felt like my generation was up against. I felt like we have been sold a world that doesn't exist anymore, a society that doesn't exist, that people are working really hard to make sure it can't exist. And guns and our violence problem in America was definitely at the forefront of my thoughts when writing this. So, yeah, I'd like to dedicate this to everyone mourning, which is all of us, but especially survivors and people mourning today. This is A Seat on the Train.
Stomach knots, left, right, jagged like Bear Mountain. Oh, the agony of 2016 and on, of life beyond basement parties and Dairy Queen. Everyone says it's hard, but I never saw it coming. Take me out of this picture, shatter its frame, staining in coffee, sleeping in rain. Oh, I'm writing letters in most beautiful pain. I find I cry better in a seat on the train. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's nothing more somber than someone I love.
letters. In most beautiful pain, I find I cry better in a seat on the train. Ooh, take me out of this picture, shatter its frame, stain in coffee, leave it rain. I'm writing letters in most beautiful pain. I find I cry better in a seat on the train. Yeah, yeah. Thank y'all.
makeup and she get her nails done. Think about her legs front. Hate it when she take it, but you always stick around. But if she get her work done, it still won't hold her down like you. Never met nobody that could love her like you. Always kept it real, ain't nobody like you. Showed your love was real by the things that you do. You do, oh. You told her no matter what she do, that she be perfect. And if she don't know nothing else, you gotta learn to love yourself. She said, teach me how to love me, even when I'm ugly. You love her when she ugly. He just tryna live life, hit the gym and work hard.